Hi and welcome back. I'm Caroline and this is Lovey. Welcome back to Everything Horses and More YouTube channel and video library. So this month we are going to be dedicating videos each week to, I always have a theme now starting this year, to horse training and riding myths. And this week and next week we're going to focus on riding bareback, riding in a bareback pad, and third, riding in a saddle. And so I'm going to be talking about a lot of the myths that surround each one, a lot of the falsehoods specifically in my experience. And I'll give you guys plenty of my personal experience to back up why, as well as much science as possible. Okay, so this month we are going to take a break from my monthly training themes as far as building blocks, and we're going to be just really dedicating ourselves to a lot of the untruths in both horse training and riding. I'll do my best. It might even be a second month because there's a lot out there. Each week to the many myths, misconceptions, and fallacies surrounding horse training and riding, and we're really going to focus the first 2 weeks on riding, and then I think we're going to get back into some bitless and bitted videos. We're going to talk about that. So for today's video, I'm going to focus on the myths and misconceptions surrounding bareback, truly riding bareback with no pad, riding in a bareback pad, and riding in a saddle. So for my research, I always search and research many of the top videos that are found out there that have a lot of views, or at least if they don't have a lot of views, they have a lot of points, whether I agree with them or not. And I'll review them and then I'll decide, based upon my experience, you know, how much of it makes sense, how much of it is true, how much of it is not true. And this isn't opinion. I just want you guys, if you're not familiar with me, I know I'm a very passionate person, and a lot of people mistake my passion for being very opinionated. And I'm not saying I'm not opinionated, but my opinions are based on experience. And not just my personal experience, but also science. And my experience includes, you know, what I've researched and experimented with. And so keep in mind, for those of you that are not familiar with my experience, that I have worked with thousands of horses in my career. And working with them isn't just giving a week training session or a couple of lessons. Most of that time has been spent either giving them their first foundation under saddle, ground and riding, or retraining and rehabilitating. And so it's gotten very complex. You know, I haven't just worked with thousands of horses in thousands of one-hour lessons. I've really gotten to know these horses, the majority of the horses I've worked with. And I've gotten to know their personalities, I've gotten to know their learned behaviors, and I've gotten to know their bodies. And that's really important. And every horse I've ever worked with, they have all been trained or retrained in a bareback pad. So this week, today, I'm going to be talking about the cons, it's all negative, to riding truly bareback. There's nothing positive about it, sorry. And I'm also going to talk about why I choose to teach riding and ride in a bareback pad. They're all pros. Sorry, they're all pros. There isn't any con. You don't see a fourth level dressage rider or Grand Prix or Olympic rider posting or doing the rising trot. Okay, and you shouldn't see any airtime between their seat and the saddle either. They know how to sit and command all of those movements through their seat. So let's talk about bareback. Riding bareback is not good for your horse, nor should it be about having fun at their expense. So how many of us have just jumped on our horse for the hell of it, taken a little spin, enjoyed the freedom, so to speak, or enjoyed the fact that we could stay on? So basically, I'm not going to support anyone riding bareback unless you really learn how to ride, truly, and that's without a saddle. So I'm not trying to contradict myself, because I only teach riding bareback with a pad. And it's really important to learn how to ride that way, and I'll discuss those reasons. So getting back to why riding bareback is really bad for your horse. And a lot of people do it at the expense of their horse without realizing how easily they can hurt their horse. So can you imagine what that would feel like? Whoops. Can you imagine? Look at your spine. If you had a really bony spine, and just rub your knuckle on that, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, or bam, 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 bam. So my knuckle would represent my left or right sit bone or seat bone. Could be my pubic bone if I fell forward, or even my tailbone. And that's jarring into your horse's spine when you ride bareback. So we'll take a look at Lovey's back in just a little bit with my camera lady. And we'll show you guys, you know, the spine, where the tendons are, and then where the muscles are. And it's really important to understand the anatomy just to that extent, because then you'll understand why saddles were designed, and again, the comfort that a bareback pad can offer too, and why you should not ride your horse truly bareback unless you can find that balance point and make sure that you're not digging in to your horse's back. So as I just mentioned, a horse can feel all of those bones. And when we sit on them, we're digging our bones into their spine or their tendons. So my finger represents the horse's spine, and on each side of your horse's spine, there is a section of tendons. There's a tendon on each side. And then next to the tendon, there's muscle. And so it goes spine, tendon, muscle. And it's just a very narrow piece, isn't it? The spine is only, what, an inch, maybe 2 inches, depending on the size of your horse, wide. And so think of that, what you're sitting on. Most of the time you're sitting, your seat bones especially, your left and right seat bone, now they're going to probably be sitting right on those tendons. Ouch. So now take your knuckle and rub it into your tendon on your arm. That's what your horse is feeling. Holy cow. So just like an ill-fitting tree on a saddle, and we're going to get into that next week, this type of pressure is what causes pain and hurts our horses' backs. So it's not just your bones hitting their bone or their tendons. An ill-fitting saddle can do the same. So most horses, like Lovey, they're high-withered. They have bony spines. She doesn't. We're going to take a look at her back in just a little bit. But most horses are high-withered. They have bony spines and weak top lines that make it very painful to ride as a rider to begin with, right? You don't want to be like jamming yourself, your privates, right into your horse's withers, or up and down, up and down, up and down on this really spiky spine. And if your horse isn't built like that, you can have the exact opposite, which is equally challenging, a really round, flat-backed, wide horse that's going to spread you. And it's kind of like when people ask me, when students ask me, Caroline, how do I find my balance point? And in addition to that, am I a good match for my horse? Conformationally, am I, as a rider, a good match for my horse? And this has nothing to do with your weight. It doesn't. I mean, you proportionately, yes, you want a horse that's a little bit bigger and stronger if you're a heavier rider, but it has so much to do with how you're conformationally built and how you're sitting on that horse. And so if you're a bigger, I'm tall, I'm 5'8", without heels, if I'm sitting on a smaller horse with not just a short back, but a horse that doesn't have a really nice flat back or well-muscled back, it's definitely going to be harder for me, being a bigger, wider person, it's going to be harder for me to find my balance point. So getting back to riding bareback, we've talked about, you know, a higher withered horse and a bonier horse, and we've also talked about a fatter horse or a wider horse. In either extreme, it doesn't make it any easier to ride truly bareback with nothing. So another negative about riding bareback is the amount of rubbing and sliding we do. I don't care how good of a rider you are, especially with these pants on. These are really hiking pants. They're just nice and cool. They're not jodhpurs. That's why I like to ride in jeans, because they grip more. But Lovey's so shiny and smooth, even though she's filthy and she has a lot of dirt. There you go. She's still really shiny and slick. Wow. That's almost impossible to stick to, big time. So you really have to have that center of gravity and that true independent balanced seat to be able to ride her bareback and not be thrown on the different bones, your pubic bone, your seat bone, sit bones, or your tailbone, not to mention grip with your legs, which we don't want to do either. So no wonder why they buck, pin their ears, swish their tails, hollow out their backs, and brace against us. These are all the reasons why I do not recommend learning how to ride bareback or even steal a ride from your horse, unless you are just walking from one place to the other, like out in the pasture, like I'll do often, and just get on my horse and ride them back to the barn at a walk. Because riding bareback, truly bareback, causes the rider instability and tension, it's almost impossible for you as a rider to learn how to ride well with a truly independent and balanced position. And that's something I teach and recommend, but only in a bareback pad. And I'm going to show you guys what I use. A well-made bareback pad not only protects your horse's back from pain, from feeling the sharpness of your bones digging into them, it supports your balance by providing texture between your body and the horse. So it offers you a natural grip that keeps you from sliding. Now, not all pads are made this way. This is a pad, the only pad I use and highly recommend. And it's suede, comes in many colors, but it's suede on the outside, and on the inside you either have wool or neoprene. I prefer wool. The other great thing about this pad is it's all leather. Very important. We don't want any nylon because nylon slides. And that's why you have so many of the holes in your rigging for your girths. So when you cinch up, whether this is English billets or you cinch up with the Western style leather grips. So in all the years and thousands of horses I've ridden, I have never had a sore back from using a well-made constructed bareback pad. Never. But I have from saddles. Many saddles. Even saddles that were designed for that horse and custom made. Not everybody knows what they're doing. That's the problem. So riding in a bareback pad teaches you how to ride with a truly independent balanced seat. It teaches you correct rider position and leg length. Teaches you things that a lot of people that are teaching you in a saddle say that the saddle teaches you, but it really doesn't. And I'll tell you why next week. It offers security so you don't slide, slip, or use your legs to grip. The padding between you and the horse keeps the horse's back from getting injured. It's more comfortable for the horse and allows them the freedom that they need in the movement. And especially, you just can't go wrong with it. You cannot go wrong. There's no way you're going to get white hairs that a saddle will give because it's too much pressure in certain points, or that the saddle may do, if it's not positioned correctly, it can also push on the hair and rub it the wrong way. It won't do any of that. I hope that all of this helps to educate you guys and make you feel more comfortable. And of course, if you want to learn how to ride really well, consciously and smart, and like a natural pro, I teach all of that in my new course, my new beginner rider course. And if you want to learn everything, including all of that, you can join my Mastery Membership Riding Foundation program. So Sabrina, my camera lady, and I are going to take a look at Lovey's back next, and then I'll explain these pads over here. All right, so Sabrina, if you just want to take a good close-up of Lovey's nice back real quick. You don't have to get up on top. So look how nice and flat and wide that is. Really nice. All right, so I don't need what I'm about to show you. These two pads. Typically, when I'm developing horses this way, without a saddle, and they have really bad top lines, I will use either this pad, typical English pad, dressage, or same here, or this one. All right, so obviously here's Lovey's spine, where my two fingers are. On each side there are tendons, right here. And the tendons can be another inch, you guys. Then you're gonna have the muscle. So when you have a saddle, holy cow, you're gonna need a tree wide enough so that it doesn't sit, obviously the saddle keeps you off of the horse's spine, but you're also gonna need the tree to keep you off of the horse's tendons and distribute the weight on the muscle. And even then with the saddle, you don't want all the weight on the muscle, no more than you'd want somebody gripping to your muscle while you were working out and gaining strength and building strength. So again, the saddle, which we'll get into next week, is to distribute weight more evenly, the rider's weight more evenly on the horse's back. So that's it for this week's video. I look forward to your comments and of course your questions. If you want to learn how to ride this way and all about the rider position and learn how to ride all of the movement, the walk, trot, canter, all the way through, join my new beginner riders course or my Mastery Membership Riding Foundation program. Until then, may you always be one with your horse. And this is also a snippet on my YouTube channel. The full-length video is found within my Everything Horses and More video library. That's only $24.99 a month. Thanks, guys. I look forward to seeing you next week where we're going to talk more about take out some saddles and take a look at saddle fitting.